Dust motes danced in the solitary beam of light, illuminating the forgotten corners of the St. Augustine Archives, a place where history went to sleep. I'd spent weeks in this hushed silence, cataloging relics of a time long past, but nothing had prepared me for this. Tucked away in a lead-lined chest, beneath brittle maps and moth-eaten flags, was a small, leather-bound diary. Its cover was worn smooth by time and touch, the brass clasp tarnished green, a faint, musty scent, like dried herbs and old secrets, clung to its pages as my fingers traced the embossed, unfamiliar sigil on the front. A sudden, inexplicable chill swept through the room, prickling the hairs on my arms. The air, once still and stagnant, seemed to thicken, heavy with an unspoken anticipation. I carefully unlatched the clasp, the click echoing unnaturally loud in the profound quiet, and opened the book, revealing a cascade of spidery, faded brown ink. The silence of the archive felt different now, no longer peaceful, but watchful. The script was archaic, a dialect I barely recognized from my most obscure studies, but the urgency in the handwriting was universal. My lamp cast a warm, golden pool of light on the delicate pages as I leaned in. My breath held tight in my chest. The words painted a terrifying picture, a first-hand account from a 17th century clergyman. He described a ritual, a summoning of the silent watcher, intended to bind a spirit to a place, to make it a guardian. The ink grew darker, more frantic, as he detailed the incantations, the symbols drawn in salt and ash, and the final, terrible sacrifice required to complete the rite. Close-ups on the page would reveal sketches of these symbols, twisted and unsettlingly geometric. The clergyman wrote of a presence that answered the call, something ancient and cold that slipped into the shadows of the church, its arrival marked not by a sound, but by the sudden absence of it. He believed he had failed, that he had trapped something malevolent instead of a protector, an entity that fed on silence and fear. His last entry was a single, blotchy sentence. It watches me from every corner. I am no longer alone. A low hum began to vibrate through the floorboards, a sound so deep it felt more like a pressure in my ears than something I could actually hear. The single bulb hanging from the ceiling flickered, casting the towering shelves of books into a stroboscopic dance of light and shadow. As I continued to read, the shadows in the room seemed to deepen, pooling in the corners like spilled ink. They stretched and warped, twisting into shapes that defied the logic of the single light source. A soft, sibilant whisper slithered through the air, just at the edge of my hearing. It was formless, a collection of indecipherable sounds that seemed to come from everywhere at once. I tried to dismiss it as the old building settling, as my mind playing tricks on me after hours of concentration, but the whispering grew clearer, coalescing into a single, chilling word that mirrored the one on the page before me. Watcher. I slammed the diary shut, the sound swallowed by the oppressive silence that immediately followed. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drum beat in the sudden, absolute stillness. I pushed my chair back, my hands trembling as I stared at the closed diary on the desk. The room was deathly quiet again, the hum gone, the whispers silenced, but the feeling of being watched was overwhelming, a physical weight pressing down on me. I slowly raised my head, my gaze drawn towards the dark, reflective glass of a framed map hanging on the opposite wall. The surface was like a black mirror, showing the dim outline of my own terrified face. But I was not alone in the reflection. Standing directly behind me, where only an empty aisle of shelves should have been, was a figure. It was tall and gaunt, shrouded in what looked like decaying clergyman's robes, its form indistinct and wavering like heat haze. It had no discernible features, only a void where its face should be. As our eyes met in the reflection, my wide, horrified ones, and the empty, soul-draining darkness of its gaze, a slow, skeletal hand began to rise from its side, reaching out not for me, but for the reflection of me. The glass began to frost over from the corners, and the last thing I saw before the darkness consumed the image was its hand closing around my throat in the mirror.